Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. This episode is called The Hollywood Apocalypse. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. Also, I'd like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls from your favorite celebrities, so check them out. There are more than 100 celebrities to choose from. You can purchase a live 15-second call for $19.95 or a 20-second call for $29.95. So give it a try. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now let's get started. Now, for those of you who don't follow the entertainment business closely, let us tell you that Hollywood is descending into an apocalyptic financial hell that is so massive that it appears to be almost biblical. It's as though the universe has somehow collectively decided to punish everybody in Hollywood for all their past misdeeds, and it wants to perform a financial lobotomy on the entire industry and do so in a fashion that is dramatic enough to show all of Hollywood's past victims that their vengeance has finally arrived. So let me give you some quick background. Just a few years ago, Hollywood was doing great. They were sending jobs out of the state whenever there were tax credits somewhere else to be exploited. They were taking mountains of money from foreign countries to make and distribute movies that weren't always respectful to America. Studio executives and producers were routinely engaging in an accounting bait and switch, which allowed them to raise $150 million budgets from movies that all the insiders knew would never cost more than $50 million to actually make. And then they would employ all sorts of accounting wizardry to make that extra money disappear into some very friendly pockets. Hollywood executives, producers, directors, and A-list celebrities were throwing parties that were so perverse, so obscene, and so evil that the guests attending them often had to pass through 3 rings of the highest level of security most people could ever imagine before they were allowed into these parties. Security was so strict that they would check for cameras, cell phones, and even physically implanted radios and microphones that were placed beneath the skin of some of the people attempting to get in. All of this while a special team would be on standby and was ready to shoot down any paparazzi drone cameras that might be buzzing around outside of the windows of the homes or buildings these parties were held at. Hollywood life was great. Not even the ancient Romans had achieved this level of Sodom and Gomorrah-like depravity. And believe me, it was depraved. Then 2020 came along, and the perfect storm of events coincided and converged on the industry leaders with a level of financial ferocity that had to make all of Hollywood's past victims feel great. Let's get into the details. First, you have the arrival and ascent of the power of Netflix. For the first few years, Netflix was seen as a joke by most of Hollywood's major players. They secretly called Netflix Blockbuster Light, but Netflix ignored all the early disrespect and continued working hard to evolve their technology and their business model until they rose to become such a financial force and massive creator, producer, and distributor of movies and TV shows that the balance of power shifted in their direction. Now, Hollywood execs were no longer making fun of Netflix. Now they were sending Netflix their resumes. Next, you had the video game market. For years, the Hollywood execs mocked the video game industry as a place where those who were suffering from arrested development went when they couldn't get laid. But the gaming industry ignored all of the disrespect for decades, and they just kept improving their technology and their business model. Fast forward a few years, and all of a sudden, the video game industry is generating $30 billion a year in profit and growing And the movie industry is making 11 billion a year and dropping fast, fading out of view. Suddenly, the Hollywood execs started sending their resumes to the gaming industry, but no one was reading them and no one cared. Those early insults were not forgotten. Next, you have the movie theater chains. For years, the Hollywood execs tortured them with repeated demands to shorten the movie release cycle so that instead of playing movies in the theaters for 3 to 6 months before they would broadcast them elsewhere, they wanted the movie theaters to reduce the cycle time in the theaters to 2 to 4 weeks before allowing the studios to pull the movies out and putting them on the networks or streaming services. Next, there was the quality of the movies themselves. Back in the day, Hollywood used to produce unbelievable movies that were innovative, imaginative, creative, entertaining. Not anymore. Now, all you have coming out of Hollywood are endless superhero movies comprised of 2 hours of nonstop fighting, flying, and then more fighting. Then a massive economic bomb was detonated in the form of a health event, which spread across the world and closed all the movie theaters. First, the theaters were completely closed, and then a handful of them were reopened. But guess what? The public stayed away because they were just afraid. So Hollywood decided they're going to start debuting some of their major movies on their own streaming services and charging a premium for those movies. But guess what happened? After nearly a year of being out of work, most Americans didn't have the money to spend an extra $25 or $30 to watch a single movie debut on a Friday night on some new streaming service when they were already paying Netflix $12 a month to watch movies all month long. So what happens next, you say? Well, Hollywood, in its infinite wisdom, now decides they need to cut the costs to save money because there's not much coming in from the movie theater ticket sales. So they decide they want to dramatically reduce production costs, set building costs, special effects costs, and other expenses in a way that will allow them to reduce their payroll and the overall cost of making movies. So they decide they're going to do this by employing a new technology out of the video game industry. Yes, the video game industry they disrespected so severely in the past. They're going to use one of their technologies called the Unreal Engine. This technology allows them to erect LCD video screens inside a massive movie studio, and then they can create and project fully digital and virtual 3D sets on these screens behind all the actors. Now, this technology is much more sophisticated than the old green screen technology because you can move the camera in real time with the actors while filming, and the perspective of the images or scenes behind the actors will change, and it will look real, just like it does in the world when you're in the real world. When you're walking down the street, looking at the buildings or storefronts and the scenery, and everything you look at changes as you walk past it. And if the director doesn't like what he's seeing behind the actor, he can then punch a couple of keys on the computer and change the virtual city or the scene or the background that the real life actor appears to be walking through and make it look like New York or Paris instead of the Chicago they're currently filming in front of. All of this can be done instantly. It's a little bit like the holodeck on the old Star Trek series. You don't need to pack up the entire production crew and all the equipment and move to another city or just to change locations. All those costs, those relocation costs, those set building costs, that's all gone. You just hit a few buttons on the keyboard and you're immediately relocated to another town or country or planet. Now, I have seen this technology, and it is stunningly realistic. It is beautiful. Because of this technology, I also believe that any set builder, set dresser, set artist, set lighter, set designer, or cinematographer who sees this new technology, I think they're going to become very concerned about losing their jobs in the near future. The Unreal Engine is about to make the construction and fabrication of actual physical movie and TV sets a thing of the past. They've all just been rendered useless. Now, what about real human actors? The studios will always need real actors, right? Wrong. You know all those thousands of people who come to LA each year and start going on auditions because they want to be movie stars? They start going to acting classes. They start hoping and praying that their big break will arrive one day so they can get serious money. Well, that career path is going to soon disappear now. That's because there's a new technology called deep fake technology, which allows a computer program to synthetically and artificially recreate someone's face, facial expressions, and voice, and make a video of them where they appear to be saying or doing something that a real actor or person never really did. But it looks like they did. All you have to do is go to YouTube and type in deepfake videos, and you'll be stunned at the quality of the latest generation of this technology. Most experts believe that the newest version of this fast evolving technology will be so lifelike that soon you won't be able to tell the difference between real human actors and deepfake actors. Why does that matter? Because as soon as it possibly can, Hollywood is going to start eliminating human actors and replacing them with digital deepfakes who they can pay no salaries to and who they can work 24/7. These virtual deepfakes will never get tired or cranky or go on strike. This will save the industry millions of dollars a month in payroll, and it will speed up the production times of movies dramatically because directors will no longer need to deal with union rules that demand break times, lunch times, and special regulations for wild stunts. With deepfakes, you don't have to worry about injuring an actor with some insanely dangerous movie stunt that you've concocted. In fact, if the stunt appears to actually kill the actor, the deepfake actor in the scene, then that will be considered a dramatic advantage for the movie. And it'll probably make the audience more excited. I believe this new technology will soon render real-life stunt doubles a thing of the past, as this will be able to create the illusion that the actor is really performing the stunt and do it convincingly with deep fake close-up shots of the actor's face as he's falling off a building or getting run over by a car. By the way, what do you think happens to the city of Los Angeles when people stop coming there to pursue acting careers? Once LA stops using humans in movies and that path to stardom closes for real people, what do you think will happen to the population of the city? Do you think that people will still want to move there? Do you think that people will still want to live through all that traffic and crime and homelessness and through all the super high prices and endless taxes? I don't think so. I think that once Hollywood stops using human actors, then LA will become as apocalyptic as Detroit did once the auto jobs disappeared. So what's going to happen to Hollywood? We forecast a massive consolidating and contraction in the industry. Hollywood studios and TV networks and streaming services are just producing too much garbage at too high of a cost. That's one of the reasons that people will cancel many of their streaming subscriptions and vote with their dollars and go elsewhere. We also forecast that a lot of stupid, corrupt, and talentless Hollywood executives and directors are going to lose their jobs over the next 2 years because they've just created too many terrible movies and TV shows. One more thing, you know, all those actors and stunt people and set builders that the industry is going to, that the studio executives will decide to eliminate and replace with technology? Well, guess what? The new AI decision-making big database technology is getting so sophisticated now that very soon it will be able to make better decisions, better forecasts, and better suggestions than many of today's idiotic studio executives. So those morons who were moronic studio executives who were replacing so many actors and stunt people and set designers with technology, a lot of these buffoons and these idiots and these degenerates, they're on their way out too very soon now. Lastly, we predict a renaissance in movie and TV creation by the newest and youngest generation of young filmmakers who are now empowered by low-cost and super powerful digital cameras, smartphones, and editing software that will allow a broke but aspiring filmmaker to accomplish the same thing that just a few years ago, a crew of 100 film people were needed to make. That's called evolution. We also predict that some aspects of this secret Hollywood plan to eliminate human actors will fail miserably. I believe that most adults will only watch movies and TV shows if most of the actors are real. If too many actors on screen are fake, then we think that people will start to lose interest because at that point, you're simply watching a sophisticated cartoon. And most adults can't sit through a cartoon unless they're watching it with their kids. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and we will talk to you soon.